This is the Vac-Con Non-CDL SE3. So this truck has 500 gallons of water. It has a Root 616 PD blower, and this truck is designed to be compact. So it's compact in length, in height, and in width. It's going to be non-CDL with an operator, 500 gallons full of water, and with a normal amount of tool storage in your boxes. You're still going to be underneath that weight requirement. The front hose reel is 500-foot capacity of 3/4 inch hose. So your water system options on this truck are pretty strict. Typically on a Vac-Con, we tell you how easy it is to customize everything, but since we're trying to keep this non-CDL, we've simplified the option content. You're gonna get a 30 gallon per minute at 3,000 PSI water system. That's gonna automatically pair you with 3/4 inch hose. So you can fit up to 500 feet of that 3/4 inch hose on your front hose reel. This hose reel is a swivel hose reel. So instead of an articulation, you're gonna have a locking pin down here with the locking mechanism. That pin is gonna allow you to swivel this reel to either side of the truck. It's very easy to swivel this reel back and forth. There's not a lot of resistance there. Once you get that reel in the place that makes sense, you just use that locking pin to put it right back into position. Very, very simple and very easy. The reel itself has the little things that we're paying attention to. You've got these boat cleats on the bottom of the reel, off the side of the bumper to tie off your tiger tails. Off the front of the truck, you have a rod holder here to put your low pressure handgun. That way you can bounce between cleaning lines with your front jet hose, and you can go back and forth with that low pressure gun instead of tossing it on the ground somewhere. When we're looking at our control panel, we've simplified things in a really great way. You have dual joystick control system. On the top side of the controls, you're gonna read your water pressure with an e-stop. Then underneath that, you're gonna see your vacuum section. So I've got my boom joystick and I've got my vacuum switch pack. So top left of the vacuum switch pack, I've got my work mode. That's gonna bring me from normal chassis operating idle, which is around 750 RPMs. When I go into work mode, it's gonna elevate those to a work area. From there, I've got my boom lights. I've got my engine increase and decrease. Since this is a single engine truck, I always need to give that vacuum, that water system, that hydraulic system, the RPM that it needs to operate completely. So I have full control of the throttle of my engine with these two switches. Underneath that, I've got my vacuum breaker switch. We're gonna go into the vacuum breaker in more detail, but just know you have automatic seal here to seal your vacuum off or open it back up to full vacuum at any point in time from the operator station or the wireless remote. The boom joystick has a trigger on the back side where we can go up, down, left, and right. The two buttons on the top are gonna be to extend that boom out or bring it back in. The water options have their own switch pack and a hose reel joystick. So my bottom half of my controls are for the water system. For the joystick, I've got very simply spool out and spool in. So this is where I'm gonna pay in and pay out. I have my max speed settings tied into the button on this joystick. So when I hold this button down, it's gonna unlock to a 1% speed creep mode, which is gonna be really good to get in and out of the manhole or to go at a nice slow speed when you're cleaning. But every other time I press this button, it's gonna jump to a 25%, then a 50%, 75%, 100%. And these are all proportional. So if I set this to 50% max speed, I can go all the way out at 50%, 0, anywhere between 0 and 50, just for any max setting that you set that hose reel at. For my water switch pack, I've got an all lights switch on the top. I've got an all strobes switch on the bottom. Moving left to right, I've then got my spool speed indicator, so that percentage that I set that spool speed at is gonna read out on that switch. I've got my water pressure increase and decrease, my water on or off, and right at the bottom right, I have my low water alarm on or off. So if that low water alarm kicks on, that horn starts going, I can flip that switch and turn that notification off. Underneath my control panel, I've got a plug-in for my winter recirculation. So if you are in a cold weather climate and you need to get a fast moving stream through this jet hose, you would just tie in this jet hose, flip a switch in the cab, and you're gonna go ahead and recirculate water as you're driving down the road. If I wanted to bring water to this front jet hose, it's extremely simple. I want water to flow, I've got my nozzle and my tiger tail on, I'm in the hole. I turn my hose reel ball valve into the on position and I get water flow. When I want to turn it off, I put that hose reel into the off position. So I'm just changing that ball valve right here at the operator station. Up top, I've got my mechanical footage counter. So this is gonna read out my footage as I'm paying in and paying out this hose reel. If we're going down deep into a 25-foot manhole and I want to start counting horizontally, I go down, I get my nozzle in place, I flip this mechanical trigger off to the side, it's going to reset that footage counter back to 0 so I can start counting horizontally. Our boom system is a little bit different on this truck as well. So we're running a Roots 616 PD blower, and we've gone with a 6-inch vacuum system. So this Canaflex coming down is all going to be 6-inch. We're going to be using 6-inch aluminum pipe extensions and 6-inch quick clamps. The way that this boom is tied in is using a support frame behind the cab. So it'll sit on a flat support frame behind the cab. That's going to support this boom vertically. Then there's a little top hat that sits down here on the bumper. That boom fits into that bumper, and we use a normal quick clamp to keep it into place. That's going to support the boom from any horizontal movement. Now, the boom is a 6-foot extendable boom. So as this boom extends, this Canaflex is going to roll through the rollers at that elbow up there, and that's what is going to bring this boom to full extension 6 feet out from its stored position. We can always use any chassis brand the customer wants, but when it comes to a non-CDL truck, it's extremely helpful to match our spec. Now, we always keep trucks on the ground, and this is the truck that we keep in our pool truck lot for these non-CDL chassis. This is a Freightliner M2 106 Plus. Now, we build this truck up with specific option content that makes sense. We've gone with a lot of lightweight option content to keep that weight down. And this M2 106 is going to have your air ride bucket seat for the driver and a bench seat for the passenger. It's extremely simplistic. You still get your Bluetooth radio, you still get a lot of great option content, but we're trying to keep it as lightweight as possible. The easiest things to configure on any of our combo trucks are going to be lights, cameras, tool storage, and pipe storage. When we talk about lights on this truck, you can still light this thing up like a Christmas tree. I'm not very concerned with you going overweight on the lights. Same thing with the cameras. So you can still do a rear camera, front camera, side cameras. You can even go with that bird's eye 360-degree view around the truck. Those are all options for the customer to choose. When we talk about pipe storage, we have 4 pipe racks with 4 aluminum pipes on this specific truck, but you're able to go up to 6 J-hook style pipe racks on this truck. That's as much room as we've got because we're trying to build this thing as compact as possible. So you can always go with the 6 pipe rack on this side. As far as tool storage goes, we're going to get a better look at that on the driver's side. We're putting our big tool storage box on the driver's side. Again, we don't have as much space to put tool storage all around this truck. We want to make it small. This section is going to house our entire water system. So we have our water pump right beneath these ball valves here. This is going to be our giant triplex water pump. It's 30 gallon per minute at 3,000 PSI, but it's going to give me that smooth, continuous flow and pressure at all times. I have 4 places that I'm sending water on this truck. We talked about the front jet hose. We turn that ball valve, we get that water coming to the front jet hose. The other 3 places I'm sending water are going to be the low pressure handgun with this brass fitting, the high pressure handgun or your hydroexcavation gun. Then you have a debris tank flush out in the back of the tank. Now, all 3 of these systems are set up on one water manifold. Anytime I want to bring water to any of those 3 systems, I've got a ball valve associated with it and a way to pressurize it here right at this station. So I don't need to walk back and forth around this truck to bring water to each section. My low pressure handgun is going to get a maximum of 750 PSI. We regulate that so that you're able to wash down the truck, wash down your work area, nice and easy. The hydro excavation gun is going to get the full pressure of the water pump. So we're going to get full 3,000 PSI. If I ever wanted to tone that down, I've got a variable flow valve here where I can taper that flow and pressure back. Maybe I want to dig with 2,000 PSI or 1,800 PSI, and I don't want that full 3,000. All I do is come and turn this knob. For my debris tank flush out, I'm going to get my full 3,000 PSI out of that. Again, I can always dial that up and down, but you have the capability of using that full 3,000 PSI. This section down here is going to be our debris tank controls. These debris tank controls are also accessed on the wireless remote. Most of the time when I'm dumping, I always like to stand away from the truck and kind of watch what I'm doing. But you also have the capability of dumping from right here. So you've got the controls for the door open, door closed, and your tank up and tank down. You also have your T-case oil temperature. So you'll read your transfer case oil temperature from this side, but it's really not anything to worry about. Not only are we cooling your hydraulic fluid with a fan, we're also cooling your transfer case oil with a fan. So you have a hydraulic cooling fan, and a transfer case oil cooling fan. We're not going to use water because if you run out of water, there's nothing to cool that system. We're never going to run out of air. So we always use air-cooled hydraulics and air-cooled transfer case oil. Both of these reels are 50-foot capacity. So I have a 50-foot of hose for my low pressure gun. I have 50 foot of hose for my high pressure gun. If I wanted to winter recirc and I didn't want to put water through my front jet hose, I can easily winter recirculate this high pressure system. So I've got a connection here, I would plug that in, and I can recirc this 50-foot hose instead of messing with 500-foot of hose because it's much easier for me to winterize that at the end of the day. So you have options to winter recirculate either on the curb side of the truck or at the front of the truck, depending on what you're going to do on that job. Like I said before, we've got 500 gallons of water on board, and we're using cross-linked polyethylene water tanks. So we've got a 250-gallon tank on the curb side. We've also got a 250-gallon tank on the driver's side. Using cross-linked polyethylene is what we love at Vac-Con. If you're used to any of our products, you know we use these throughout all of our combos, our hydroexcavation units, and our jetters. But we've got these tanks sitting here. You can also see that we still use a bubble sight on the side. You always have the ability of using an electronic water level gauge if you prefer. This truck's outfitted with the normal bubble sight, and you've got your low water alarm to notify you when you're getting low. Whenever I go to fill up this truck, I've got my 20-foot fire hose in a holder here, curbside. I can pop this out, connect it to a hydrant, and fill up my tanks. Both tanks are going to fill simultaneously from the bottom to the top. So now we're at the back of our debris tank, and you can see we're utilizing a dome-style door. This is going to give us a little bit more carrying capacity. So we call this our 3-yard truck, but it's 3.5 yards of carrying capacity as far as volumetric size, but usable capacity is 3 cubic yards. So I'm getting a full 3 yards of debris that can enter into this debris tank before it cuts out on me. When we look at the decants on the back door, this is our standard decant location. So I've got a 6-inch knife valve with some gravity drain lay flat hose. That's going to be at our standard location. So I can locate that multiple places on the back door depending on the customer's needs. But keep in mind, even though this looks like it's up high, this debris tank tilts 50 degrees up in the air. So the only place it's not going to get decanted is that very far low corner of the debris tank. The reason we put it this high is it really decreases the amount of clogs that you would get. On this truck, you can see that the customer went with a plate on the back door with another opening. If they wanted to add a trash pump or a pump off system in the future, they don't need to go in and blast a hole in the door. That hole's already there. They can attach that pump off where that plate's located very easily. Right underneath the debris tank, we've got a section for a tool storage that's long handle storage. So I can put spoons, grabbers, shovels, hydroexcavation lances, all tucked in to this long handle storage box underneath my debris tank, trying to utilize all the space that we've created on this truck. So that bottom of the toolbox is actually going to be mesh. So I can go in there, if I keep those spoons and shovels in there, I can take my low pressure gun, spray that stuff down while it's in the storage box. It's going to drain out from the bottom. Up on the curb side of the debris tank, you can see our debris tank level indicator arrow with a proc switch tied in above it. So this is going to be your vacuum breaker system, and this is going to help with automatic overfill protection. So anytime you fill this debris tank up completely, that float ball is going to rise in the tank. That arrow is going to hit your proc switch external from the debris tank and make it so you can't overfill this debris tank. The main reason we use an external vacuum breaker system is in case you get something that impedes a float ball. If you're depending on that float ball to suction to the top of the tank, something can impede that. So we use everything externally instead. The vacuum breaker system also does 2 other really important things. So one, I have immediate on and off at the operator station or on my wireless remote. So if I go down into a catch basin and I vacuum up a large rock at full vacuum, I bring that boom up and over, I hit my vacuum breaker switch, the rock falls off, I hit my vacuum breaker switch again, I'm immediately back to full vacuum going back into the hole. The third thing that it does is if I'm 50% full of my debris tank, 25% full, and I go to drive away to go dump or go to another job, as soon as I disengage the parking brake, that vacuum breaker door closes, so that material sloshing around in the debris tank doesn't climb up into my filtration. So looking at the back end and the option content that was selected as far as lights go, you can see that we've got 2 floodlights looking out the back for any nighttime operation, and you've also got a light stick that was selected. So you can always go with an arrow stick, You can go with multiple floodlight setups, and you can also do multiple strobe setups off the rear door. Now on the driver's side of the truck, we get a really good look at our filtration. So when we're vacuuming on this truck, we're bringing debris through the boom and it's entering the front middle of the debris tank. There's a deflector shield that's going to kick it to the right side of the debris tank, and that airflow then needs to curve around and be picked up by a stainless steel screen inside the debris tank on the back left. Once that airflow makes it through that stainless steel screen, it's going to enter the air routing on the driver's side of the truck. That air routing is running into a cyclonic separator. So the first stage of filtration is the fallout inside that tank. The second stage of filtration is that stainless steel screen inside the debris body. The third stage of filtration is the cyclonic separator itself. So this is going to spin that air down to the bottom. It exits and rushes up through the top. So it's spinning that air around the circumference of the cyclone and shooting right up through the middle. That's going to get a lot of our fine particulate or our dust caught in our fallout chamber at the bottom. It's really easy access to get in and out of this door. So you've got a rubber latch to enter. You can always use your low pressure gun and spray it out. It's all ramped so that water's all going to drain out by itself. And then you just use a rubber latch to go ahead and lock that door into place. After that air goes out of that third stage of filtration through the cyclone, it exits through the top, and it's going to enter our final filter. So this final filter has a butterfly latch on it, and you have a little pleated cartridge in there. That little pleated cartridge that's inside the final filter is even going to pick up a smaller, finer micron of dust. That way we're not getting anything coming into our PD blower, and we're filtering out that material as best as possible. On the driver's side debris tank, you'll see this cylinder up here. That's what's controlling our vacuum breaker door. So that cylinder is going to move and actuate a valve inside to either close the vacuum breaker door or open it. And that's going to either allow airflow or close that airflow off. Here's our main storage section. So we've got a large storage box right in between the cyclone and the final filter, and we've got a small storage box right underneath it. This small storage box at the bottom is going to house some of our electronic components. That way they're very easy to access and troubleshoot. And it also allows you to put some of the more delicate things in there if you don't want them in with all of the rest of the things that you're storing in your toolbox. Thank you to everyone for watching this video. If you would like to see more content just like this, please like and subscribe on YouTube, but also look out for Vac-Con John on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok to see all of the short form and long form videos I'll be posting in the future. As always, work safe and buy Vac-Con.